hope is that women of all ages and walks of life will come to this exhibit and truly appreciate the beauty in themselves through his photographs. I wanted to look up an exhibit that would sort of emphasize the Black community in this town, which is so underrepresented in the Arts Center, I feel. And so I used this exhibit as a way to bring out the beauty of the community and represent them. And that was the first phone call I made. So when I got this job, I sat down at my desk the first day and I called Jerry Taliaferro. Well, the photographer is Jerry Taliaferro. He's based in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he is originally from Tennessee. He was in the Army for a very long time. He said that he first started photographing professionally in the 1980s. And he started this collection around that time, and it started to tour in 2002, and it's been international. It's been all over the United States, and it's also been in Europe, so it's quite acclaimed at this point, so we're very fortunate to have it in Rocky Mount. Whenever he was doing the photo shoots for the local women here, he was telling us that, you know, you don't just take a picture, you have to build a picture. So he starts with the profile, and then he builds up to, you know, the more striking poses, I suppose. And the criteria, from what I understand, was women who have made a significant impact on Rocky Mount, whether it be a small impact or a large impact. And so that's sort of the criteria they used, and I think they did a great job of getting women of all ages and backgrounds, and they've all done so many different things for the community, so we have a really great group of ladies represented.
I am Jacquelyn Mae Louis Deloach. I like to say that I'm homegrown. I was born and raised in Nashville, North Carolina, and have spent my entire life between Nashville and Rocky Mount. I'm the oldest of 5. I have 1 sister and 3 brothers, and I'm very blessed to have both my parents still living and my siblings close by. Married to a wonderful man, Steve, and we have no children, but I have lots of blockbuster babies, as I call them. So I check them out and I check them back in.
Well, I'm a 2-generation native of Rocky Mount. I went away a short time to get my college education, and for some reason Rocky Mount drew me back, and so I have been here, and it has afforded me a great career, and I've enjoyed being a help in the community and sharing my knowledge with others.
My name is Joyce M. Dickens. I am from Pine Tops, North Carolina. I moved to Rocky Mount when I was in the 3rd grade. I have 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter, 2 daughter-in-laws, and 5 grandchildren.
I'm from Bethel, North Carolina originally, which is in Pitt County. And so we grew up on a farm, family farm. So my early years involved hard work, working on the farm. I've been in Rocky Mount since 1994. Relocated here from Tarboro, North Carolina, to work here, to work for legal services here in Rocky Mount. I worked there for a while. Went to school with the George Washington University, started out there in Washington, D.C., and finished at St. Augustine College in Raleigh, North Carolina.
My name is Louise Ricks, born and raised here in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Graduated high school. After high school, got married, started a family. Then I decided I wanted to go to work, so I went to work at Abbott Lab, worked there for 27 years and retired in '91. And after that, I decided I wanted to do some traveling during those 5 years. So I traveled to some of the places that I wanted to go. And I've enjoyed traveling, you know. That's one of my things that I like to do.
I'm Loretta Braswell, and I'm originally from Nashville, North Carolina. And I have been in Rocky Mount a little over 40 years, and have 2 adult girls, Zanira and Kanisha.
My name is Margarette B. Perkins. I'm a resident of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. This is my home. However, I relocated back here in 1974 from Boston, Massachusetts, and New York City. I was married to the late Staunton Ellsworth Perkins from Washington, D.C. I am a member of Englewood Baptist Church here in Rocky Mount on Winstead Avenue, and Michael Clore is my pastor. My faith is first and foremost. It is God who has enabled me to do everything that I do, for all that I have and am is because of Him. After that, my family, they are my cheerleaders, and they are my rock.
Well, I'm a native of Rocky Mount. I've been here all my life. My parents were here, just ordinary people. They were 8 children, and I went to school out of town. That's about as much as I've been out of town at any length of time. So, and then I got married, had 1 child, and that's about it except for work.
I'm Edith Allen Penny. I've been in Rocky Mount for 20 years. My hometown is Durham, North Carolina. And I've been married for 32 years. We have 2 children, Eva and Charles II. And we've lived in 3 other cities besides Rocky Mount.
My name is Angela Rebecca Bryant. I'm born and raised in Rocky Mount. And I have lived here all of my life in a sense. I was here for my first 18 years. I left about 20 years for college, law school, and the early part of my legal career. I'm a lawyer by profession. I came back in the late, I think in '89, I came back, and I've been here ever since. My family consists a lot of care for elders in my family. My mother, first cousins of hers, and my godmother, and now my family is mostly my significant other, Lorenzo Ellis. I want to add, and 2 cats. Tiger Woods and Junebug.
My name is Julia Congleton-Bryant. I'm originally from Robertsonville, North Carolina. I have 8 siblings rather, 4 brothers and 3 sisters. The 2 oldest, of course, are deceased. My mom's name is Julia Congleton, and my late father, Samuel Congleton. I graduated from high school in 1959, entered Elizabeth City State University in 1959 as well, and graduated from Elizabeth City State University in 1963. I've been in Rocky Mount 51 years. I enjoy the youth has always been my priority. And even when I was in high school, I thought that I needed to be involved and concerned about the youth, those students that were younger than I was. And it carried through college, and then, of course, I graduated as in education, elementary education, and I taught at Parker Middle School for 31 years.
Well, I am 72 and a half years old. My home is in New York City. That's what I made my home many years ago, and I moved here to Rocky Mount 23 years. I've been living here. This is my husband's home. I have no family here now. My sister passed away, so I'm here, not alone, I shouldn't say that, but I have a lot of friends here. I have a lot of friends, and I have my in-laws here, so I don't feel totally lonely.
So I like to say that I've been very blessed to have a career that has matured as I have matured. I have worked with some great organizations. I was with Hardee's Food Systems for about 10 years in different various roles there. My last role being Public Affairs Administrator. Was able to transition to RBC, now PNC. Was in Community and Economic Development in that space. And with PNC, I was Client and Community Relations Manager. Now, fortunate to be with CUMMINS, Rocky Mount Engine Plant. Have been there for about 11 months now. And in the role of Community Engagement Leader, I actually have oversight for our corporate responsibility initiative. So for the volunteerism, for our sponsorships and grants, and work really closely with the CUMMINS Foundation. So I'd like to say that I'm the liaison between the community and our employees.
I have been a career educator, and the reason for my interest in education, because I had quite a few family members who were educators, and so most of what I heard in informal and formal conversations was about education as a profession.
My job is the president of the Rocky Mount Edgecombe Community Development Corporation, and we are a nonprofit. We practice comprehensive community economic development, and so I do community development work. Our work includes the development of affordable housing, elderly housing, housing counseling. We're currently very deeply involved in foreclosure mitigation with the Housing Counseling Center to help people to save their homes. And so I practice community development from the highest level, I would say.
I started out as a government employee in Washington, D.C., worked there 5 years, went from government to corporate, and I loved corporate, left D.C., moved to North Carolina, and worked for county government for a number of years, and then the nonprofit community. Loved the nonprofit community, have worked there more than 20 years in different areas of human service, human development. And from that, I started my own nonprofit and worked that for 15 years. And it was from that that I became interested in the city council, became exposed to politics and advocacy for the people that I represented. And then eventually ran for public office and has been in that position now for 7 years.
After 5 years of retirement, I decided I wanted to go back to work, just not sit home and do nothing. So I went out and I'm looking for work. I found work at the city of Rocky Mount and through a temporary agency. So after my contract was up, I was called back to the city for another appointment. And after that, I went on and took the job, and what I do is a secretary for the city of Rocky Mount. I do payroll, filing, typing, anything that need to be done in that field, order supplies for the area.
Well, right now I'm semi-retired. I retired from the city of Rocky Mount after 36 years in 2010. And in 2011, I returned to work on what's called the Citizens Academy, and just real happy about that program. And in addition to that, I'm working at community development, assisting with rehab and those kinds of things. I decided to go into human relations. Well, it was happenstance, really. There was a job open at Human Relations as a volunteer action coordinator, and we recruited and trained volunteers to work in nonprofit agencies. And I got the job and worked in that position for a while. And I started observing what they do in Human Relations. So I asked their director, Sam Gray, if I could sit in on some of their cases, because this was back in the years where it was during the civil rights era, and a number of people could not get jobs because of their race, could not stay in different areas because of their race. And it concerned me because it made me reflect on some times when I had been discriminated against. And I wanted to do that. So I got an opportunity to become a human relations specialist. and which meant that I started investigating complaints of discrimination. And I loved it. And I loved it. And I moved up in the organization and eventually became the director of human relations.
My career is one of fashions. But fashion is more than just fashion. And let me explain. In the line of work that I do at my business, I have to wear many hats. I have to be a cheerleader, a counselor, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, an encourager, you name it. And the reason being is because most women, and it doesn't matter about the age, are very critical of their bodies. And you can't fashion correctly a woman on the outside until you deal first with what's going on the inside.
My first job was with an insurance company. And I worked there about 4 years. And then after I got married, my husband wanted me to get another job, so I went to work for the Employment Security Commission, and I stayed there 37 years. And during that time, I got a lot of experience on campaigning for offices in our professional organization, and moving around from town to town. So that was a lot of good experience for me. And then I helped a lot of people. I think I helped a lot of people. When I was working with the Employment Security Commission, I ran for office for our professional organization, and I won. So when I finished working in employment security, I decided that, well, if we need a change in city council, I'll run for that. So that's what I did.
Most of my career has been in education of some sort. I have worked in higher education. When we lived in Asheville, I worked at UNC Asheville. I did a little bit of a stint with social services, but I found myself back in education when we moved to Rocky Mount. I worked at the central office for about 5.5 years, and then I got the opportunity to go in the classroom. And that's where I was introduced to communities and schools. I went in as their site coordinator, and that's where I found my passion. I fell in love with working with the students. I fell in love with doing and making sure that they could achieve and that they were successful, helping them through some of their obstacles, and it was just the passion that I'd been looking for.
Well, I have a couple of parts of my career. I started out as a lawyer, and I was in private practice, and then I worked for 10 years as an administrative law judge. I really loved the profession of law and my identity as a lawyer, and I continue to keep my active law license. However, there came a time when I wanted to do more to prevent problems and to empower folks to solve problems than to sort them out after they had them. And so I started an educational nonprofit consulting firm with my best friend from Rocky Mount. Her name is Valerie Batts. We started a nonprofit, Visions Incorporated, to do diversity and organizational and community development consulting. And so I've spent 30-some years doing that and 30-some years as a lawyer, and my lawyering has shifted more to looking at personal and institutional and organizational change than individual representation of clients.
When I got out of college, I went to New York City from New Jersey, Teaneck, New Jersey out there, Fairleigh Dickinson. I spent some time there. And then I decided to go to New York, and I started working in the motion picture company. And I worked there for years and years. Then I left there and I went to family court. I was our campaign, one of the key people in Mayor Lindsay's campaign. So when I finished his campaign and he won, he gave me a job. I wanted to work in the family court. So I worked there for many years, and then I left there and went to the United States Chamber of Commerce. I was a salesperson there for a few years. And then I left there and went to Wall Street. And I worked there until I retired. I worked for several brokers firms. Payne Webber was the last one that I worked for and retired from there. And then we moved here.
So I'm very excited and I'm humbled by this series, by actually being chosen. Nothing I've done has ever been about me, but to know that the work has been recognized and that it's made a difference is just truly, truly humbling. And to be a part of such an amazing elite group of trailblazers and powerful women, I'm just awed, and I'm really excited to be a part of this group.
I think it's so important because, again, our young people need to see what the older people are doing and have done and will continue to do.
The work that I do has made a difference in this community because it is real estate development, it's community change, it's developing new communities. We've had the good fortune to be blessed to be able to build affordable housing, create new communities, put in infrastructure, roads, water, sewage, streets. And so the work that I do is real. You can see, feel, touch it, live in it, work in it. It has created jobs. So it's an interesting work. I feel blessed to have been called to do this work and that people are blessed from this work. So I'm excited about it.
With the community nonprofit work, I work primarily with families through education, work with the Fatherhood Initiative in educating about father rights. And one of the things that we did was travel to the General Assembly, talk to legislators, help them understand the whole issue of fathers' rights. And I think that we have been instrumental in helping to change some of the laws and helping to make the courts more friendly towards fathers as parents when they are non-custodial. Moving from the nonprofit into the city council, one of the reasons I was excited about the opportunity to run was because I felt that we could impact the lives of families in a greater way, in a greater way. And so I feel as though we've begun that process. There's a lot to do always. And so I think that I impacted the community by working directly with families, and also have been successful in bringing some projects to not only to the ward I represent, but as a part of the whole body, bringing projects to the city, being a part of this transformation that's going on now in the city of Rocky Mount. And I think that my support and my recommendation and ideals was a part of what's happening now in the city. So I'm excited about that.
I also feel like I've contributed. I started my career in personal and social change as a child, being a part of the integration of the schools here, one of the first of the younger kids to integrate the schools when I was 11. And also following in the footsteps of my father, who was a community activist working around community issues, and my mother as an educator and a strong African-American women's club person in her sorority and missionary and community clubs. And so in all of those arenas, I sort of have continued to contribute following that legacy, and I've served here as a member of the city council and now as a legislator. And I don't know that it would matter to me to represent anybody else as much as my hometown where I've been born and raised. So, and I live in the house I was raised in, so that's all just such a connectedness of place.
I think because I was the first to venture out. Now, when I was young, I had a lot of nerve, and I kind of go up against anybody, so when I was working with the Employment Security Commission, I ran for office for our professional organization, and I won. So when I finished working in employment security, I decided that, well, if we need a change in city council, I'll run for that. So that's what I did.
I hope that through some child that I've touched, some young adult or some adult that I've even met, that I've left an impression on them that they would like to become and do more with their lives. I hope that they can see through my actions and what I try to model as a lady of what you can become and the types of things that you can do as a mother, as a wife, as a community activist.
I do hope the women of Rocky Mount will come, and especially the young women in Rocky Mount will come to the exhibit and to this series and see themselves and be inspired to know that this too could be them. So looking into these pictures and see themselves and not see the people that are there, but be inspired to make a difference and be a part of the difference in the community, and know that if it happened for me, it can definitely happen for them too.
I think there is power at the cultural level of just the images. You know, seeing the images of African American women as important, as beautiful as this photographer can make them, aside from who we are as individuals. There's a power in his craft to make the images seem important and to communicate a certain spirit and depth. And I think that there's a power in that message. And so I feel uplifted and admired and supported and recognized in that way. And I'm hoping other women who come will, and the community who come and look at it will feel the same warm and proud feeling in looking at the images and seeing what they communicate.